Hello and welcome to this O&R module video. If your boiler on your central heating is running continuously or constantly, chances are it's your directional valve that's at fault. And we're going to go through the Danfoss HPA2 repair, but other central heating valves are very similar in operation and the repair is very similar too. So, if you were to replace the HPA2 unit, it's going to cost you about £45. However, we can repair it for less than £4. To do that, the tools for repair you're going to need is a soldering iron and some solder, a small cross screwdriver, a small torque screwdriver, a microswitch part number XK8, and obviously you need to be a competent person because this is going to involve getting into your electrical system on your house at about 240 volts, so you need to know what you're doing. In this video we're going to break it down into three sections. First, locate and remove the unit. Secondly, replace the faulty microswitch. And third, a bit of an explanation about the operation of your central heating, why this particular switch causes a problem, and hopefully that will help you fault find in future. Okay, so how do we locate and remove the directional valve? So first of all, before you actually touch anything, please isolate the electrical fuse in your consumer unit or fuse box to make sure it's completely safe. Now normally it's the hot water directional valve in your heating system that will be the problem. The hot water units tend to fail more often because obviously they're used all year round. You want hot water all year round, whereas if you have got a separate heating directional valve, that's probably only used in the winter time. Okay, to remove the head of this directional valve, the electrical unit, you need to remove the two screws with a flat screwdriver. The unit then just pulls straight off, revealing the actual heating valve behind. Now, the valve should look something like this, nice and clean. If your radiators are warm but heating is on or isn't on, it's probably this valve being jammed. It should look clean and with no sign of fluid leaks. If it is leaking and you'll see fluid around there, you will have to replace the actual valve itself. The valve should be able to move freely backwards and forwards by hand. If you find it's getting stiff, then it is a sign it's on its way out, unfortunately. The actual electrical bit of the valve will be wired into a junction box. You need to take the lid off that with a small cross screwdriver, and inside you can trace and remove the existing wires from the junction box, again with a small flat screwdriver. I would recommend taking a photograph or noting down the wiring, because obviously you're going to have to wire the new one or this replacement one back in the same box later on, and it's easy to forget the wires. So you should have your Danfoss HPA2 unit or your directional valve unit out and looking something like this. Right, section 2 then, let's replace the switch. In order to do that, we need to take the whole thing apart. There are 4 torque screws you need to take out from the rear of the unit. The white front cover will just then pull off. You can then remove the heat shield, which will simply pull off the motor. The motor itself is secured to the plastic base with 2 screws. Use your cross screwdriver to remove those 2 screws and release the motor. The motor itself can be lifted off the base. It's not secured by anything else. And it should now you should now be able to see the plastic cover holding the microswitch. You can then lift that cover off with the microswitch attached, and the microswitch can then just be lifted off the 2 pins from the plastic cover and the plastic cover put to one side. Then you have access to your microswitch. You can this microswitch, as we said before, is a part number XK8-Z1. It's a Burgess switch. I say it's the same switch that used a lot of these directional valves. And basically just have to unsolder the wires of the old switch and solder your new switch in. The reassembly is just the reverse of disassembly. and hopefully you'll have your central heating working again within a few minutes. So section 3 then, a bit of information about the operation of your central heating. If this wasn't quite the issue you had, hopefully this will help you diagnose it. So how does the system work? Well, this understanding should help with the fault finding. So basically the process works something like that. You have demand for heat or hot water coming from your timer and your thermostat. The motor valve opens, and then there's actually a cam within the valve itself which triggers the switch, and the boiler is then powered on. That is the process. Interestingly, the valve circuit and the boiler circuit, as I'm calling here, are not actually linked. They're only linked mechanically and not electrically, and I'll show you how that works. So basically you could have a fault in one circuit and it might not affect the other, or vice versa. So here we have the inside of your motorized valve with the motor removed. You can see there the top of the manual, there's the manual lever to move the whole system round. The valve is shown closed at the moment and the switch is open. These microswitches are normally closed, so when the button is depressed the circuit is open. So in this condition the valve is closed, so your heating or hot water is isolated, and the boiler is switched off because the boiler circuit is off. As I say, the valve circuit and the boiler circuit are not electrically joined, they're just joined by this mechanical cam. So when the actual motor opens the valve, as you can see it turned anti-clockwise here, the cam on the actual brass ring, as you can see, there's moved round to a point where the switch now becomes open. The trigger is open, but actually the switch becomes closed, and this powers on the boiler. So you can see here, if that particular switch has a problem, it will get your boiler running continuously. Why does that happen? Well, if you looked inside the switch that I took off, you can see here it's in a normally closed position, i.e. that when the button is undepressed, if you've soldered to that particular right hand leg, it be powered up. Now in my case, this was actually, the two contacts were welded together in this position, so even though you push the trigger button in, it wouldn't switch over to the other pin, hence the boiler was running continuously. It really is easy as that. So you replace this little micro switch for a couple of pounds and you're all as good as new. Hopefully that'll help you if you've got any trouble with your central heating, probably this winter. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, share and subscribe for more mod reel videos.